Hello everyone and welcome back to Helios Sports World once again. Hope you guys had a good Christmas, and originally today's video was supposed to be me talking about the welterweight division and look a little deeper into the pool of contenders at 170, but instead I will be discussing another interesting topic in the welterweight division itself. So judging by the title of this video, you could probably assume that today's topic of discussion is obviously the rumored fight between Nate Diaz and Dustin Poirier welterweight itself. So yeah, without any further ado, welcome to the new video. Let's get straight into it. Right, so there have been talks of a potential fight between Nate Diaz and Dustin Poirier for quite some time now. Even before Dustin accepted this last fight against Charles Oliveira, he somewhat hinted that he would be chasing another money fight in the form of Nate Diaz after having beaten Conor McGregor twice in 2021. But of course, that wasn't the case to be, and unfortunately for Poirier, he then went on to lose another title fight and has pretty much made it clear ever since that he won't be cutting down to 155 anymore, which I think is a sensible decision on his behalf because Dustin Poirier is naturally a welterweight. And personally, I would love to see him get thrown into the mix with the 170 division because there's already so much potential in that division right now. And if you throw Dustin Poirier in there, it pretty much calls for more great matchups at 170. Anyway, Dustin Poirier would have to start somewhere in the welterweight division, and for him, the perfect first opponent is definitely Nate Diaz. I mean, Diaz is a tough test for anyone on any given day, and there is already a bit of history between Dustin and Nate, with both of them being scheduled to fight at UFC 230 back in 2018, of course. But that fight got cancelled, and so yeah, there's this little bit of beef between the two men. There's a little storyline that has developed in these past few years. But then again, we saw Nate Diaz recently tweet out saying that the UFC probably isn't willing to pay him enough or something of that sort. But then Dana White said if Poirier and Diaz are both interested in fighting each other, they will book that fight. So yeah, there's this little bit of a confusion there, but we shall see what happens when we can only hope that this fight gets booked going forward. Anyway, getting down to the fight itself, I think Dustin Poirier versus Nate Diaz is stylistically a great matchup. However, I think Poirier is the clear favorite to win this bout, and I say that in a sense that he's almost superior to Nate Diaz in almost every aspect right now. And in one of my previous videos, I did mention that Dustin Poirier is one of the better boxers in the UFC, even though Nate Diaz himself is known quite well for his boxing. But yeah, I think there's this big difference in power between the two men right now, and Poirier is probably more powerful than Diaz is, but there is one other factor here which might play a big role in this fight, and that is that Dustin Poirier tends to get hit a lot. And it's pretty clear that Dustin gets tagged a lot while standing up in his fights. And as well, we saw what happened in the second fight against Conor McGregor, where Poirier got hit many, many times in that fight. And the only moment when Poirier turned the tables on Conor was when Conor's back was against the cage and he didn't let him move as freely as he would have liked to, which eventually led to the knockout. So yeah, we already know what this current version of Nate Diaz is capable of doing. I mean, he may not dominate a fight anymore these days, but we all saw what happened against Leon Edwards. So considering that, Dustin Poirier could go out there and dominate Nate Diaz for as long as he wants to, but one good right or left hand from Diaz could pretty much end the fight at any given moment, even though that is very unlikely to happen now. Okay, so the other aspect of this fight is obviously how things would play out between Dustin Poirier and Nate Diaz on the ground, and I mean, it should be pretty clear that Poirier obviously has better wrestling here. I mentioned it before as well, how superior Dustin Poirier's wrestling is. But one of the things that people often tend to overlook is Nate Diaz's takedown defense. I mean, that right there is a very, very underrated aspect of Diaz's fighting style, I think. And even if you go back and rewatch the Leon Edwards fight, Edwards took Diaz down in the first round. He got his back, but Diaz's movement on the ground was very slick, and he didn't really let Edwards get the choke in. But Dustin Poirier's ground game is way superior than Leon Edwards' is, and considering that, I think Poirier could be relentless if this fight goes to the ground, because we all know that Diaz has the tendency to get cut open very easily, and the same thing happened in the third round of the fight against Leon Edwards, where Leon just absolutely battered Nate with those elbow strikes on the ground. And if Dustin chooses to take this fight to the mat and put pressure on Diaz from there onwards, I think this could be a very, very long night for Nate. Overall, though, I do think there's a winnable fight for Nate Diaz, and I think he realizes that as well. His camp probably realized that Diaz has a chance of beating Dustin Poirier here. But in my opinion, I think it totally depends on which version of Dustin Poirier shows up after another loss in another world title fight for him. But if this fight ever happens in 2022, I will obviously favor Dustin Poirier to win, like I said. But I wouldn't look past a victory for Nate Diaz as well, because who knows what Nate Diaz can pull off in a fight. Okay, so that's it for this video. I've decided to keep it short and simple, and hopefully we get a Dustin Poirier versus Nate Diaz fight in 2022. I mean, it's a banger of a fight, so we can just hope that the year kicks off with a great fight between these two men. And yeah, I hope to do a full recap of 2021 at some point before New Year's. Hope you guys enjoy this video. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and I'll see you guys in the next one.